Hi, yes, here we are with Jamie in the Monday Night Football studio. Jamie, great to see you. Nice Christmas?
Yes, very good, yeah.
Good.
Really enjoyed it.
Good. Lovely to see you. Right, let's get into this. Liverpool. Everything seems rosy, doesn't it? Apart from, in a couple of days, Virgil van Dijk, Trent Alexander-Arnold and Mo Salah can all sign pre-contract agreements with foreign clubs. And then Mo Salah says after the game the other day, Liverpool and I are way off with the contract. What did you make of him saying that?
Well, listen, it's nothing new now. We're probably used to that now a little bit with Salah coming out a couple of times now over the last few months about his contract situation. I was unhappy with that at the start, I think at the end of the Southampton game. But as I said, it's normal because he's getting interviewed a lot because he's getting man of the match a lot for Liverpool and he's doing his interviews on Sky. But yeah, I mean, I'm at the stage now with Mo Salah and Virgil van Dijk. I'm not too bothered really what they say about the situation. I do expect it to get sorted on both counts with those two players. Maybe I'm being too optimistic. But no, I still believe. I can't see a situation where Mo Salah is not starting next season at Liverpool. I can't believe that Mo Salah or the club would allow that to happen.
Now, that's really interesting because you left a player out there, Trent Alexander-Arnold. Do you think he's off?
I don't necessarily think he's off, but I do think it's a different situation to the other lads. He's obviously got a huge decision to make. I'm desperate for him to sign. He's a local player. I love seeing local players, whether that's at Liverpool or Everton, really flourishing. And he's been one of the greatest local players we've ever had, you know, from the city. And I think the way Liverpool are playing right now and what's looking like they could do in the future looks really exciting. I'm desperate for him to sign. I hope he's the same.
There's a lure of that white shirt, though, that Real Madrid shirt, isn't there? Give us an idea. What does that mean to players? Because people want to go.
I do believe Real Madrid and Barcelona have that lure of players from all around the world. I think that's a dream for probably 90% of players around the world to play or end up at their final destination is Real Madrid or Barcelona. I mean, you see that with Mbappe, and you see that with any player who's maybe rated as the best player in the world, they somehow end up playing for Real Madrid or Barcelona. I think with it being Trent and him playing for his local club, I think that makes it slightly different. In that different if, you know, Trent was playing for Chelsea or Arsenal, he wasn't, you know, a London boy. I don't think there'd be any question that he'd make that move. I think the fact that he'd be leaving his club that he's been at since the age of 5 or 6, I think it makes it more of a decision than it just being Real Madrid. Because as I said, I think 9 times out of 10, when Real Madrid want to sign a player and that player wants to go, that normally happens. Interesting.
Right, let's talk Manchester City. Got a win at last. Did you see any signs, though, of a return to form?
I still don't think it felt like a game where I was watching City. I feel like it still felt like there was problems there because Leicester have really struggled since Ruud van Nistelrooy came in. Not so much in terms of results, but in terms of performances. This was actually their best performance, I feel. But I think the one thing to cling to is that Kevin De Bruyne was back and starting and still showing signs that creatively and passing-wise, he's still one of the best players in the Premier League. Obviously, physically, he's not the same. We know that, and that happens to players when they get to that age. But I think if I was a City fan, I'd be looking at him thinking, hopefully I can watch Kevin De Bruyne anywhere near his best between now and the end of the season. That gives us a great chance of making sure that we get into the Champions League for next season, because we all know, I think there's a good chance. I think Kevin De Bruyne will move on in the summer and just marvel and watch this man play football, because he has been one of the absolute greats that we've ever seen in the Premier League.
Yeah, he's a great player. Pep said he wants to get bodies in January. Now, Tim Sherwood over the weekend on Sky Sports said the danger is that you end up getting people in who should never be anywhere near a City shirt. Is there the possibility that City could actually be in a worse state if that happens?
They could be in not so much a worse state, but they could be in a situation next season when you buy someone and then you've actually only used them for 4 months. And then you get to next season, you get Rodri back, you make proper signings, if you like, City signings, where there's more players available in the summer. And these players are just surplus to requirements. So I remember Liverpool a few years ago had a real injury crisis at centre-back. And they ended up bringing 2 centre-backs in. There was one from Preston North End, and there was another, a foreign centre-back, I think, called Carragher, came in. They weren't at the level, but they were just bodies to bring in. And Liverpool didn't spend any money on them, really, I don't think. I think it was just a case of getting through to the end of the season, and we don't want to be saddled with a big transfer fee or big high wages. So Liverpool decided to go that way. Man City will try and get the real deal, of course they will, but what you don't want to do is end up buying someone for sort of 30, 40 million that in 6 months you go, he's not going to play, we're just going to have to, he's going to be sitting there on big wages. So if they feel they need to do that and that will get them across the line to make the Champions League, they have to do it. But if it's someone who they don't think is going to really move the dial in the next 6 months or in the future, it's probably best to leave it.
Staying with that theme, you and I stood here a couple of weeks ago and we talked about Arsenal. I asked you if they needed a centre forward. You said they need a forward player. Now Bukayo Saka is out for a period of time. Do they need more than one forward player?
Yeah, and again, it goes back to what I've just said about Man City and in the January transfer market. Mikel Arteta in the last few windows has prioritised defenders. He's got a lot of centre-backs there. He's got a lot of players who can fill in different positions across the back four. He's now got to go for attacking players. And I think he needs 2 attacking players in the summer. Now, if you can get one of those players that you want now, and maybe you have to pay a little bit more, do it. They have to, because I think if they don't do it, I think it's very difficult to see them clawing Liverpool back, especially with the injury to Saka. But certainly in the summer, Arsenal need to really invest in the attacking options.
But we're going to talk Tottenham Hotspur now. Jamie, again, a couple of weeks ago, you and I stood here and we said Daniel Levy had just backed Ange Postecoglou. Spurs fans booed the players at the weekend. How long will that backing remain?
I think there should be no chance of the manager losing his job before the end of the season, really. I think whether Ange is there, whether a new manager comes in, I think it's going to be really difficult for them to get a Champions League position, certainly in the top 4. But we think this season might be top 5. That may give them a glimmer of hope. But I think if you change the manager, if there's that type of talk going on, who are you looking to bring in? It's only managers really who are out of work. Now, I think you let the manager get some of his players back and really assess them over this second half of the season. They had a really good first half of the season and a bad second half of the season last season. He'll be hoping that they can reverse that this season. So when he really poor start to the season, can he get his players back, his 2 centre-backs back, maybe bring a couple of players in January and have a really strong finish and make sure he's in that position for the start of next season. But I don't think for me, at any stage between now and the end of the season, I'd be looking to change the manager.
Does he have to tweak his philosophy, though, Jamie?
Well, I've spoken about this a lot over the last few weeks with Tottenham, and I think sometimes we give our opinions, and that's the way I see it. But when a manager consistently says he's not changing, you get to the stage where there's no point us actually saying that, because he's not going to change. We're not going to, not that we're trying to influence him, but he's going to stick to his principles. He's going to stick to his way of doing it, and that's the beauty of football. We all see it differently. There's no right or wrong way to play the game. There's no right way that's always successful, and another way that's always doomed to failure. There's people in the past who've played like Ange Postecoglou and been successful. I mean, he's been successful himself, in different countries, in different leagues as well. So I totally take, the reason why he would stick with it, because that's brought him to the job and, the position that he's in right now. But that's what makes the game what it is.
Nuno Espirito Santo is doing something right, isn't he? Are his Nottingham Forest side the team of the season so far?
I think they possibly are, yeah. You'd probably look at Liverpool, because not just the league, but what Liverpool have done in the Champions League as well under the manager. But it's definitely a much bigger shock that Nottingham Forest are where they are in the league than where Liverpool are in the league right now. So yeah, I would agree with you on that, Mike. Yeah, I think they've been the one big surprise package, and not just a surprise as in like a little bit like Bournemouth or Fulham, where they're in the top 6. But I mean, second. Yeah. It is remarkable. It's not after 10 games. But halfway through the season, which is, a real barometer of where you're going to finish. Yeah.
Let's talk Monday Night Football then tonight, Jamie. Got a cracker, Man United, Newcastle. Let's talk United. Are you seeing any shoots of improvement at all under Amorim?
Not really. No. I think he's about 10 games in now, and we're going to look at that tonight, look at the stats, look at sort of Erik ten Hag's last 10 games compared to, the new manager has come in. We know it's a new system, you've got to give him time, it's a different way of doing things. He's new to the Premier League, so it's not a case of us putting pressure on him. He's going to be here for the long haul, I would imagine. But I just think after that Manchester City game, that felt like a real big moment for me. And I just think the team he picked at Spurs, for me, that's something I'm going to mention tonight, is that I thought he made a mistake in the team that he picked, and I think he should have gone a lot stronger, and just not so much to try and win the cup as such, but just to keep that momentum going on the back of the Manchester City game, because since then it's fell really flat.
I'm glad you mentioned Eric Ten Hag, because Harry Maguire said that Amorim and Ten Hag are completely different. Does that mean there needs to be another substantial overhaul of the United squad?
Yes. And there's two reasons for that, because the players have proven themselves not to be good enough under the last manager, but also this manager's got a completely different style and philosophy, formation. So I think that was one of the reasons why I think Liverpool were looking at Amorim. I think he was one of probably 2 or 3 guys, along with Xabi Alonso as well. But the thing with Amorim and Xabi Alonso was they both play this system of sort of 3 at the back. And Slot comes in, and it's not as big a change in terms of changing the squad. You know, Slot didn't buy a player, really. You know, but he's been successful because it was similar sort of thinking to Jurgen Klopp. Now, this is a complete change. You know, the squad has been built to play 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3. What they're going to do now, you know, 3-4, I mean, what is it, 3-4-3, however you want to look at it, it's there's a lot of change going to be needed to the squad, and that's why I think they're going through a bit of pain now, more than probably that they want to, is that this manager got a completely different way of doing things, and these players are going to have to get used to it.
Their opponents tonight, Newcastle, trying not to change their forward player, slapped a massive £150 million transfer fee on Alexander Isak. Despite that, will they be able to hold on to him?
I think they will, because I don't think anyone will pay that type of money, really. Not that he's not worth it. You know, who knows what players are worth now. I mean, I absolutely love him. I think he's fantastic. I felt that from the first time I saw him scoring a goal at Anfield a couple of years ago. I think he's a special player, but he's on a long contract. I think Newcastle are trying to tie him down a little bit longer, but he's not listening to that at the moment. And when you have a player with that quality, the conundrum Newcastle have got is, this is a guy who should be playing for a team who are in the Champions League every year. For Newcastle, that's not really the case. They're hoping to get there. They might get there this year. They weren't there last season. They were the year before. So they're a bit of a team who might be in it, might not be in it. He'll be looking at other strikers around the world and thinking, I'm as good as him. I'm better than him. They're in the Champions League every year. So how would Newcastle play it? They'll want to get in the Champions League with him, but they also want to maximise a transfer fee if that happens in 12 or 24 months. So that's something that they've got to keep in mind, because they can't afford to let him run his contract down and maybe get to a year to go, where the transfer fee then is nowhere near what it should be.